my God. For whatever reason, I've got like weird Al Yankovic hair going on today. What's going on, SJ? There's something happening over here. Rival Sons. Perhaps you've heard of them. They've got, a couple of Grammy nominations and lots of great songs that have stood the test of time, as it were. 6 albums, if you can believe that. And for whatever reason, the band just starting to find their way at, you can view this, sure, why not? Be in the live, I don't know, Rosebud, I think I'm waiting for Jay from the Rival Sons. I can't jump you in. Rosebud will have to jump in another time. So as you might know, this is our first foray into the Instagram Live world. So pardon me if I'm a schmuck and screw it up. I had a friend of mine who is a big Instagram fan, and he says, yes, hang on. Okay, perhaps now, maybe. Who said, I love using Instagram. I would use Facebook, not 40 years old. Jay, what's happening, brother? How are you?
What's going on, Jay? How you doing, bud?
Good. I like the hat, man. It's very stylish. We were doing a whole hat thing. My folks, we did a Zoom discussion. My parents are in North Carolina, and the rest of my brothers are down in San Diego, and of course I'm up here in the Tahoe area. And for whatever reason, my background on the Zoom meeting was an ocean, like a beachfront, and my sister-in-law was wearing a hat, and my mom says, "Well, don't you have any hats?" And so I whipped out all of the old boleros that were cool for a while. I've got a big collection, but now I don't wear hats anymore. I just rock the Weird Al Yankovic hair, which I've got going on today. I don't get it.
Well, for me, I rolled out of bed, and I don't really do anything with my hair anyways. Probably need to wash it, so I just put a hat on. And voila.
There you go. In fact, I wanted to start this interview talking a little bit about fashion. I've tried to grow this out here, and for whatever reason, you guys, especially you and Scott, have got like the coolest facial hair ever. You with the chops. Scott's always got the motorcycles, the handlebars going on here. I've tried to grow mine out, and I can't get it to do that. Do you have any tips for me?
It's funny enough. No, I don't have any tips for you. Patience, I suppose. Trial and error. I think you just got to see what's going to work for you.
Yeah.
And I just shaved. I had a huge beard, a big quarantine beard, and I mean like a sizable beard.
Yeah.
And I had that, and I just shaved it last week, and that was like my hunker down beard. And then just got sick of it, thinking, "Oh man, spring's coming. Shave the beard."
Yeah, I call it the depression beard. Truth be known, I would be completely shaven if it weren't for my wife being insistent of the fact that I've got to have some facial hair right here because I don't have a chin. So some people have got double chins. I just got like I don't know if there's a name for a one chin thing, but it just goes straight down. Thanks so much for the time today, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, of course. It's we're living through some really crazy stuff, and Rival Sons can't tour right now. We're supposed to be out on the road right now, but instead we're home. Just like everybody else is. Everybody else is home too, and to be able to reach out to your listeners out there and our listeners and our fan base and all of that. If this is what we got, like, this is pretty good. It's pretty great that we can take this time together and talk about music and talk about things that we like, and just to communicate this way, and to have something like Instagram Live. This is really fantastic. So I'm very happy to do it.
Being a member of the gig economy in a way myself, a lot of other folks have been hurt by the gig economy, and some folks have found prosperity with the home isolation thing in the gig economy. But man, musicians and the music industry has just been decimated by this. What do you, if I had to say, projecting what the next 18 months look like with the real prospect of, no big tours, no big gatherings until fall of 2021. How has your tour or business model changed? What are you guys doing aside from stuff like this to continue to get the word out and make a living?
Well, to make a living, Jabe, my answer to that is I don't know.
Yeah.
We're dealing, everything's in flux right now, man. I don't know how we'll get through. I don't know how we'll do it. And it's not just me, it's everybody else too.
Yeah.
Everyone's kind of holding their breath right now. And so I don't know. I don't know how it's going to look. I would imagine, my partner, Scott, and we're riding full time right now to put this next record together. So,
right.
And then as soon as we have that together, we'll get into the studio and we'll make the next record. But in terms of touring, this is a variable that isn't altogether in focus yet.
Yeah.
So I'm not qualified to speak on I don't feel qualified to speak on any progress with the pandemic or with vaccines or anything like that. It's like everyone's kind of holding their breath. And I think the most that I can ask for right now, for myself, my family, and the band, and as well as everybody else out there, just try to keep a good attitude and do your best. You don't need to be nervous, you don't need to be as afraid as maybe you're feeling. We still have, here in the States, we have a lot of resources, and we have ways to communicate with each other. And, there's the food's out there and we can still go to the store and everything's going to be all right.
Yeah.
But economically, for those of us in the gig economy, the dust is going to end up settling. We're artists. We knew that we were, we started out starving, and most of us still are starving artists.
Yeah.
And, we do this as a means of communication in the first place, and to be able to communicate with other artists and to live the artist lifestyle. The main thing is to create, and everybody's just going to have to tighten their belt and get creative with stuff like that. But we'll be all right. I don't have answers as to how we're going to make it through. Exactly how we'll meet. The financial the financial goals that everybody has. To pay their bills and all of that. But I've got faith that things are going to be okay.
Right on. Now let's talk about the positive of that. What would you say is the best revelation, maybe a new discovery or a new habit that you've taken on or something you've observed with direct regard to coronavirus? What has been a big positive, something that's like, wow, it's nice to get back to this form of simplicity or whatever?
Well, there are many linings, many silver linings to this gray cloud, one of the immediate ones is I'm actually home.
Yeah.
I'm home. I'm home with my family, full time right now. And that's a huge blessing, just to be here and to be able to be at my family's disposal 24/7 and know that I'm going to be here for a while.
Right.
It's enormous, and as I said, you can't really weigh that out against any financial worries or all of that stuff. That kind of lives over there. The immediate thing that you have is you have time to slow down and to reassess the way that you're approaching your life, shift your perspective to be more mindful and be more appreciative of those things that maybe you would take for granted in your daily life. Things like going and being able to go see your friends or to go hang out and have jam sessions, or to do a lot of the things that you would typically do. I think that being forced to slow down this way is going to yield great results.
Yeah.
You know, culturally
But
for
my
us.
neck is hurting from the whiplash a little bit.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
Hey,
I get it.
real quick, I'd like to talk a bit about the music. You know, your lyrics, you're a relatively heady writer. Let's just say you're not writing Poison songs, man. Were you a pretty good student in school, or were you disinterested in school and wanted to pursue a career in music as soon as humanly possible?
You know what? I was a terrible student in school.
Hmm.
My head just wasn't there at all. I was reading on my own and seeking my own education, throughout high school, and it was that typical thing, I got along with my teachers and all of that, and I enjoyed learning, but school was not my bag,
Yeah.
so my grades were terrible. I was just there, trying to sell my music and
Huh.
promote promote my gigs, you
Yeah.
know, and and to do all of that, and to meet girls. That's what high school was for me,
Yeah.
Um, but then, once I so all my teachers would look at me, and they would sit me down and go like, you're really not working to your potential, et cetera, et cetera. And they were right. I was definitely not applying myself. And then I think that once I started going, uh, you know, going to like community colleges and things like that, that was when it was like, oh yeah, it's actually really easy to get straight A's, and to
Hmm.
do those things, because all you have to do is apply yourself. But
Yeah.
your head's got to be in the game, man. But for
I
me,
completely agree.
yeah,
Um,
I love learning, and I love reading, and figuring out new approaches to and challenging your own personal philosophies, and challenging your intellect through great dialogue with, hopefully, with people that are smarter than you, and all of that stuff. But when it comes to lyric writing and things like that, it's like, you know, they're just songs, and so they'll hopefully they can provoke thought through the sweetness of a melody or a good riff or whatever. But
right.
it's really, for the most part, like the real gems are in the books and the great authors and some of the great minds. I feel like as musicians and songwriters, we get to cheat a little bit, because you're hearing something good, and hearing great music, or music that you like, will make lyrics seem a little bit more poignant sometimes.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I'll take that. I'll take that all day.
Six albums under your belt. You guys were widely known as kind of speedsters, jumping in and being able to record and write and record a record in record time. And then you got signed to Atlantic. This new album took quite a bit longer than normal. What happened? What was the change there?
Well, there is a difference in an album taking longer and taking longer to make an album.
Hmm.
And I think it was the latter for us. We decided to just give ourselves more time instead of rushing through it. We wanted to see what sort of a statement we could make, not just for our fans out there, but just for ourselves, to see what sort of art we were capable of making if we took more time.
Hmm.
And for me, that was to great result, because anytime you set out to make a record, and if you give yourself the time to do it, um, you most of the songs that you start, or most of the ideas that you have, end up just dying by the wayside, because you naturally it's a very Darwinian uh, process, with the strong surviving. The ones that you naturally gravitate toward are the ones that edify you artistically. And
Right.
so I think that taking longer to make the record, we could have definitely gone on or gone into the studio and made a record the same way that we always have. It's kind of like we've done that. This
Yeah.
Feral Roots was our seventh studio album.
Yeah.
If you include the EP, And I always include the EP with Soul and Torture and Sleepwalker and all of those songs because it's a pretty long EP. But
Yeah.
we just wanted to shake things up and do things in a different way. And, challenging yourself that way is so
And was
healthy.
this the first album you did in Nashville?
No, this was our, let's see, fourth. This was our fourth
Wow.
record in Nashville.
Okay. With being in such a songwriter mecca, are there did you collaborate with anybody from a songwriting perspective that might deserve some props, or were you guys just kind of doing it on your own?
No, I mean, I have a lot of really, really talented friends here in Nashville that I love collaborating with. But for that record, the only person we collaborated with was just our producer, with Dave Cobb,
Right.
and he and
Was
I.
it an unspoken member of the band?
Yeah, I want. It's
Yeah.
kind of like we've been making records together. We've done every record with him. I think we've done. I think Dave's done more records with us than any other artist, that he
That's
works with.
yeah.
And he's definitely, he's part of the family. But we'll get in the studio and, if we're brainstorming or whatever, I'll just start writing with Dave, or if he has a good idea, like, okay, well, let's run with that. But I co-wrote Shooting Stars with Dave. He was playing guitar, and I just started writing lyrics and melodies and coming up with other parts too. And
Yeah.
so, he's just a great writer. He's just part of the family. It's as easy as anything.
It's
creating a
been
song.
a long time since we've had a kind of a gospel choir and a rock song. Obviously, Graham and the Foreigner guys had a huge hit with that. But tell me about the inspiration for having the gospel choir and Shooting Stars. It's such a massive sound to it. And it's so cool to hear on radio in this day and age in 2020.
Well, we knew that we wanted right out of the gate with Shooting Stars, with that song. We knew that we wanted to hear a gospel choir. You have to be careful. You have to be careful employing a gospel choir because it can turn kitschy and novelty really quick.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's been done a lot of times,
Yeah.
And it can tip the hat toward the dramatic, or even the vaudeville, really quickly. And so you want to be careful with that. We called up our friend Shannon Sanders and brought in the Nashville Urban Choir for that over at Ocean Way Studios on Music Row.
Okay.
And so that was tracked over at Ocean Way, and having Shannon come in and put together the choral arrangement with such a brilliant choir and just such talented vocalists in there. For me, getting to sing real time with the choir is one of my favorite musical experiences of my life that I will never forget that day. It was such a great experience for me.
I'm curious, what famous singer do you get compared to the most, would you say?
All of them. I get every day it's somebody new.
Yeah.
And for me, it's always a compliment. It's a high compliment, but I get it. I mean, just everyone you would think. I get everything from people tell me that I sound like Jim Morrison, which I don't understand, but I like the Doors, of course.
Yeah.
And, of course, I get Robert Plant. Great. I love Led Zeppelin. Love Robert Plant. Steve Marriott. Great. Love that. And then Paul Rodgers. Awesome. Terry Reid. Great. I love Terry Reid. Eric Burdon. I love Eric Burdon. I love all of these vocalists, but I think that for me, I'm influenced by just about everybody, and there are so many vocalists that have made a huge impression on me that I don't get compared to, but like Van Morrison is a huge vocal influence on me. Nina Simone is a huge vocal
She lives. She was born in Tryon, North Carolina, where my parents are
Yeah.
retired. So I love Nina Simone. Hey, listen, Jay. I know you've got other stuff going on today. I really appreciate the time, man, and absolutely love your talent. And Feral Roots is one of my favorite records of the last 2 years, and it's been on repeat in my car stereo because I still have a CD player in there. And I love listening to it, man. Congratulations on all the success. I hope to see you here on the West Coast sooner than later once, some of this stuff passes and, maybe it'll just be like a bunch of small gigs in a 50-seat, concert house. Who knows?
Whatever we have to do to adapt to these changes right now. As soon as we're able to get out there and perform for everybody and get back out on the road and see the audience and the people and the friends that we love so much, we're going to do it as soon as we can. We just have to figure out when and how that's going to happen. But in the meantime, I just want to implore everybody out there, just keep it together, stay strong, and reach out to the people that you love. Be good as you can. Take your vitamins, wash your hands, eat as healthy as you can, and get your rest.
I appreciate it, man. Great talking to you. We'll see you soon.
All right, thanks so much, Dave. We'll see you, bud.